Hey everyone, welcome back to the District 3 podcast. This is episode 287. My name is Edwin.
And this is Elena.
And I'm Migs.
And today we're actually joined by a friend of the podcast. He is a reporter with 5 News, Jose Carranza. Thank you for joining us today, Jose. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
I told you like a few months ago that I'd love to have you on the podcast, and I'm glad you're here, and we can kind of talk about, this rising issue in our community and also across the country. I kind of want to see, things from your perspective as a reporter. What are you seeing? How do you feel as an individual as well? There's been a lot going on. But before we get to that, just to kind of check in with people, because I think we haven't really had the opportunity to check in with each other. Elena, Migs, how are y'all feeling right now?
In terms of just like,
everything. It doesn't have to be just immigration related
feels
stuff.
like it's been 5 years in just 1 week.
Gosh. I forgot. Oh yeah, you both work for news.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget that how much you guys have to work around when Trump's president.
Yeah. yeah. It's just been like nonstop. And well, since you report, but I'm on the website of things, so like literally every little thing that's coming through the wire, which is what people typically see, like, oh, this was said. It's like they report on everything. Like I'm like, Trump wiped his ass, like, and it's annoying, but it's also like, and then there's like so many people that email us, like it's just nonstop. It's just nonstop.
Yeah.
It's very nonstop.
Natural birth citizenship is over. Oh yeah. No, wait, no, it's not.
It's like an emotional roller coaster in a way, because even with that, with like the birthright citizenship thing, we already knew there was gonna be a lawsuit, because it's just unconstitutional. But even just the emotional roller coaster of seeing the news of like the administration trying to putting an end to that is like it's scary.
Like regionally, I think too, like people don't realize the impact of Trump, him being like a national leader, and what that means to a state and the states nearby. Oklahoma literally just passed and made it into law where parents have to bring in proof of citizenship for their children and for public education. Now, even if they are undocumented, they will still be able to go to public schools, but the schools are going to take that into account now. So that's like literally something that happened like within like just 3 hours ago. So it's like those type of repercussions. And then also like, I mean, just like the bills that are being proposed into the Arkansas legislature, you have Gulf of America, right? Which like Trump changed that. So.
They got changed already? I don't know.
He's changed that. Like he changed that. Yeah.
Like what happens? How do you change that? Like do they just start using Gulf of America? And all the documents?
First of all, like it's about time, right? Like no, I'm just kidding.
It's always been ours.
That's a weird thing to start off with, especially since like the whole.
I think it's kind of like the same thing that Sarah Huckabee Sanders did, with like Latinx.
Yeah.
It's something really small, minuscule, but it also is like a way to hide the other things that they're actually doing. Like the funding just stopped for a lot of things, and it's been nonstop. Like we've heard rumors that certain teachers don't have jobs anymore starting tomorrow, because they don't have those federal grants anymore. Medicaid stuff, people with Medicaid are scared. I've had older people call up the newsroom saying like they've had like, some funding stop over here. All the local outlets are doing an interview with Sarah Huckabee Sanders like
they are?
Today,
I don't know it was all the outlets that were doing that.
Yeah, I think it's like all of them.
Okay.
Right?
I saw that Gabby was doing it. Gabriella was doing it for KNWA, right?
No, yeah, I think
I
everyone's
sent her a question.
doing it.
I'm not sure if she'll ask it. But
she said it was good. She said, everyone just sent me a really good question. Yeah, she told me. But like, it's just kind of like nonstop. And sometimes I think it's good because it brings up conversations that need to be had. And it also brings up like where we are failing as a society. But also it's hard because Trump isn't a good person. And he's like making these changes, and a part of me is like really upset because I'm like, we knew this was gonna happen. It was there's like literally things in Project 2025 that he said he wasn't gonna do that's being done.
Yeah,
that's dismantling like everything, and it's just very overwhelming to know stuff, and like I don't want to bombard the people I love with like, did you see this? Did you see that? My mom actually sent me a text message this morning. They're sending death threats to immigration attorneys in the South. And, that's pretty scary. That's pretty scary. So, it's just like, how do you even get people to care when people really see these people as evil, bad guys?
Yeah.
And it's like, we're all human. And that's something that I tried to tell reporters, especially with all these continuous, like, ICE is over here, ICE is over there. Like, we as a news outlet can't be fear-mongering, and we can't be posting rumors. We can't be saying, like, this and that.
Yeah.
So I tell them, I'm like, how can this be changed? Try to find, like, a deeper story into this, Like, I keep proposing that we go to where we know illegal immigrants are working, where undocumented people are working, like expose why nobody wants these jobs, But then you're like, is Tyson really going to let us go in and record this?
Probably not.
Especially whenever Tyson is like, we don't hire undocumented people. We hire other people who hire undocumented people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a lot. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Wow, I just felt all that overload of information just coming off you. Like,
I kind of want to
a
know
lot.
what you're thinking, Megs. Where's your mind at? What are you feeling at the moment?
not too bad. Just chilling. No.
I mean, generally speaking, Megs, I feel like that's your vibe. Your vibe is like chill. You don't really let stuff get to you that much.
I've been trying to not like indulge in all that.
Yeah.
So I always like considered myself like a politic. Like I look at it like sports. Like I'm not looking at who I like or whoever. I like who's gonna win, who has the better numbers, like, what are this guy's stats? Like that's kind of how I look at politics. And so it's like a game to me, like all that. And then this year I just kind of been like, well, first of all, the outcome, who's gonna win the Super Bowl.
Not the Chiefs.
Yeah. And then so I hear and then and like I'm usually all. I mean, I remember 4 years ago, or and before that, like I was just tuned in to the news like every second. Like I knew about a lot of stuff, and then here lately, I'm just. I mean, ever since Biden took over, and you kind of didn't hear much from him. I just kind of took that silence and kind of like enjoyed it. So I've been trying to lure away, but then like everybody's going crazy right now on social media about like ICE and the vans, and then I'm also confused. Like, are they here? Are they not here? Like, like did they take a bunch of people or just two dudes? Like, like what's going on?
Which two dudes is a lot, though. Still, it's kind of scary when you think.
I
about
mean,
it.
but people get deported like
That's
being
true.
pulled over for something every day. So if they just came here and got two dudes, that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Except for the family. For the family, it is a big deal.
Oh yeah. My bad.
You don't want to say that because I'm speaking with the family member right now of the person who of the two people that were taking in Rogers, and the young man he's a firefighter in Rogers, I believe. Recently, he became a firefighter, and it's for me, it's my life. Like it literally I drown in it. Like I can't avoid it. It's because of like community work that I've done in the past in immigrant rights and immigration. Like I just get so many messages from people and so many tips from people that they think they've seen immigration on all these different locations. And one thing I need to remind people all the time is that immigration is always here. ICE is always in Benton and Washington County. They come pick up people from the Washington County jail, from the Benton County jail. So if you see them at a gas station, they might just be there getting gas, which of course is still scary, right? Like it's still a concern because they are going to people's homes, and yes, they had already been doing that, but there seems to be more of a visibility, and I still haven't figured out yet 100%. Like, is there more activity now, like, or what's going on?
Me personally, if I was Donald Trump, like I would send just a little more like presence, like, hey, be scared, stop telling your people to come over here,
Yeah.
But that happened immediately. Like I don't think it was all him because he was barely about to like take the oath, and everybody's on the internet like ICE is here. Yeah.
No, he had said like beforehand, like
His borders are
like Chicago, like before he was even inaugurated, they were already like Chicago's gonna have all these raids.
Yeah.
Well, he also like on his campaign website, because I wanted to do a story a long time ago, like even leading up to the election. But I think, management, it's careful there, jumping on the gun and doing one party or the other for equal coverage. But yeah, he's had it on his campaign website. And also not just that, but, I think everyone knows. It's like, okay, we can see all these headlines, but you know what you see, you know what you feel in the community, word of mouth. And so, yeah, you kind of understand the kind of whole vibe of his campaign anyways.
For me, I mean, even the administration put out, like, I think there was several articles, national articles, about how there was a certain number that he wanted to hit every day. I think it was like 1,500 of arrests that he wants ICE to have, which is, of course, a bigger number than they usually have. So they're literally telling you there's going to be more ICE activity. So for me personally, I do feel like there's more ICE activity in the area. Like if you would ask me, that's my opinion. I don't have the evidence yet to prove that, but I mean, we're seeing people record more, and I'm not sure if it's one of the things that people have been saying is like, oh, people are recording more just because, the administration has been telling them there's going to be more arrests. So that makes it look like there's more activity. But I don't think that's true. Like yesterday, for example, whenever I went to go look at Oriole Street because that's where the ICE activity had been reported in the morning. And it was clear when I got there, I spoke to some people there. And as soon as I was done there, someone sent me a message and said they're actually in Adrian Street right now. So I went to Adrian Street, and that's where I saw them. That's where I saw the ICE officers. It was 2 ICE officers with 2 Springdale PD officers as well. And I posted this on Facebook. That was the first time I ever saw ICE in person. And me, as someone who is like a U.S. citizen, somewhat empowered, knows my rights and all these different things, I was still kind of intimidated as I was driving, because I was like, I wanted to take pictures and video, but I'm like, I'm driving. This is a good excuse for them to stop me and say, why are you texting and driving at this moment? So I stopped and I took some pictures from far away. I passed by 2 times and I saw officers that I recognized that I actually had a personal relationship with in the past, which kind of made me even feel even more weird. And it's just a reality that I can imagine now how other people that are actually like undocumented or are just scared in general, when they get asked by people like me, like, hey, take pictures, take video, like, it's not that easy to do. Like, when you're actually there, when you see an ICE officer and you think about, like, your friends, your family, like, that shit kind of hits you pretty hard. And it's not the same as just seeing them on social media. I'm not sure, have y'all ever had any experiences with ICE? Like, have y'all ever seen them in person or anything like that?
Not in person, but I've got, like, an entire immigrant family, basically. And so I've known about the little office off of
in Fayetteville,
I-49, headed towards Garland. Like, I've known of that place for a long time, and every time I pass it, I look at it and I think, oh my gosh, there's like no one could tell, no one on earth could tell that that's a nice building.
And they do it purposely. It's
got like and you've got little vehicles in there. You got one van, but then you've got other vehicles that are just unmarked, and it's
How do y'all do it though? Like being in news and constantly, especially right now, seeing all these like different like ICE activity and stuff. Like how
many Latinos are in your newsroom?
In our newsroom, there are 2.
And you're one of them?
Me and digital. Yeah, we've got
hey, you guys doubled since last time I checked. I was like
and thankfully, I think our editorial meetings have become super big for us. Because in that, I've gotten to share my experience and everyone has understood. And that's why I think it helps, with coverage. Because even there are some things, for both sides of the ticket, right? For both Democrat and Republican, like, and I kind of, I hate that it falls that way. I hate that it falls on either party. If it's an issue, it's an issue. Someone's impacted, right? Someone's concerned about that. It sucks for somebody. But for like, for fluoride, stuff like that, that's something huge that Robert Kennedy is going after. And, someone actually pointed out like, hey, that's actually a big issue. And I was like, I never knew that. So, but how am I handling it? Oh my gosh. I think I'm privileged. I know I'm privileged. it's hard because at the same time we're in an age where we have to focus on our mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to be able to, like, days off like today, you know what I mean? Spend that time with my family, kind of retract myself from social media, from just being out in the community. But at the same time, making sure that I am there for my community because I know I have that platform, because I know, you know, there are a bunch of issues that are happening and to someone in my community that they need to know about that. They need to understand that better. And so, you know, like, I got to sit down with Nathan Bogart a few times, and sometimes for people, you know, you'd have to make an appointment, you'd have to pay for that and all that.
Yeah,
but
you're talking about immigration attorney.
Yeah, for
Nathan
an
Bogart,
immigration
for those
attorney,
that don't know.
And so, just like going and talking to him, and he's happy to do it and talk to me and just tell people their rights, you know what I mean? Whereas somebody else at home, they're like, oh, that's that extra step. That's that, you know, I don't want to do that. They're probably tight on money. There's so many factors that play into holding people back from getting the resources they need.
Yeah, and I've seen like just anytime that there's any like immigration issues, it's always like the Latino reporters that kind of step up to go do interviews. Like right now, I've seen, you know, Michaela with KNWA and Michaela. And I told her, and I asked her how to pronounce it too, and I pronounced it right when I said it the first time.
I always call her.
It just came off.
Michaela.
Michaela, and then Abner of there, 4029 News. I saw him at the rally in Rogers. And then, you know, there was other folks, you know, with 5 News. Rachel was out there.
Rachel, yeah,
who's not Latina, but like she understands. You know, she gets it. We've had conversations before. So I'm glad that there's coverage of these important actions that are happening in our community. How about you, Elena? How are you able to separate things? If you are able to, if you're not, then that's also valid.
So let's see here. For me, for the most part, like what my biggest issue that I'm trying to overcome is like, how do I not let the people around me, like Migs, like get news fatigue, which is like that first time when Trump was around. And, like, you know what? I'm just going to turn this shit off. Like, why should I care? Like, it's going to be nonstop. The world's going to look like it's on fire, right? And, like, it's just too much information, and it keeps changing every day, right? Like, with the Colombia tariffs thing, like, that was literally an hour-by-hour type of change that was happening. Yeah. And, like, you know, news fatigue is very real, and I feel like it's something that people don't understand what that does to our community. Whenever you're constantly looking at the news to find updates, you're eventually going to be like, you know what, screw this. I don't want to watch this anymore. Like, it's just bad. I want to focus on my family. I want to do this, right? But then people are just going to turn it off for 3, 4 months, 5 months and not get any big news, you know, like if Medicaid does stop, or if you know, federal funding for our streets stop, like, you know, all of these things that do have a real impact on our day-to-day lives. That's the part that I don't want people to miss, right? So it's kind of like, how do you give someone a bite-sized stuff of information without them feeling like they're eating too much, right? So
I think that's kind of just a big argument in general regarding where society's headed now. Just because, like, that's what news is. That's what a newscast is. A newscast is everything boiled down into a minute, or VOSOT, 45 seconds. You know what I mean? And people have just gotten so used to being on social media that they want it on a
5
different
seconds.
Yeah, they want it in 5 seconds. They want it somewhere where it's easier for them to digest.
On the headline, and that's it.
Yeah.
But the hard part about it is now we've play into algorithms, where algorithms give you exactly what you want, and at the same time they kind of will separate you from the rest.
Yeah.
And so,
but also, like, working on the digital side of things, because I don't come from broadcast background, so I never think about, like, short. I come from a print background, which is all writing and like even long form. So sometimes if our reporter works on a 1 minute, 2 minute piece, then we're able to write on it more, right? And make sure that that digital side is more throughout. And then from there, we could see the analytics. We could see if someone spent 2 minutes reading the story, right?
Does it blow up when y'all put like an immigration news story? Is that like
sometimes?
It's
I
not
mean,
really
it's like the algorithm, you know.
I wondered that the other day. I was thinking to myself, I was like, I wonder if like these local news, like 5 News, KNWA, if they know they're about to get a lot of clicks, because of comments. Because comments are wild.
Sometimes comments don't mean clicks. People argue and they won't read a story. People don't read stories a lot, but we get.
I go in there and look at the immigration, 600 comments.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
And you telling
Like,
me I was arguing with Stephen Jones for no reason on KNWA's link? Oh my God. So I clicked on the story. I thought he knew what he was talking about.
No, they
Jesus.
don't. And then people will even be like, did you even read the story? You know, like if you would have read the story, you would have seen this and that. Which, you know, is kind of like, how do you make people read stories? But digitally, people read more than they watch the news. You know, you get a lot more traction online than you do on your newscast.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether even that's like a clipped video that goes onto YouTube, that's still like online. So, you know, I think about those type of things and like, but sometimes it's hard because people don't read your story, right? I did a long piece on all of the January 6th pardons that happened in Arkansas, all the Arkansans who were pardoned. And one of those guys...
Good old Bo, what's his name?
Big O.
Big O.
Yeah, Big O Barnett. He went to Nancy Pelosi's office and put his feet up. And, you know, he got pardoned. But he was not as bad as some of these people who got a flagpole and beat on officers. Or, you know, that even got, like, bear spray. And, like, you know, there was some people there who...
It's like Blue Lives Matter only on some occasions,
One guy literally said that. He literally tweeted, Blue Lives Matter only when they're on your side or something like that.
Yeah, it's like, come on.
Nathan, and he literally lives in Bentonville.
Yeah, he did an interview with us, I think, on the Square.
I did not like that interview because they did not show the other side of like, this is what this guy was arrested for. Instead, they gave this guy a platform who was pardoned and just left it at that.
He was mad about that. He called us. He was mad. He made comments on our post, and he was mad about our coverage. And I was like,
yeah, like Big O's I've heard is like a pretty crazy dude. And I was scared to put my name on there, that I literally told my white coworkers, you guys are putting your name on this story because I don't want this story to be mine, even though I worked on it.
Posting about this. That is scary.
But, you know, that's another fear. Like, you know, like my face is out there and like those type of things. But really, like, I've been able to separate work from like my life, and I also have just been like making sure to like pray and like put my faith in God, because that's all I really can do. And I feel like God never fails me, so you know that's really what I have to do during this time, because it's especially with my mom's work, like that's also stressful, and like, you know, we have to text back and forth. Thankfully, like I'm in a position where I don't have to worry about my family, like legal status and stuff like that, but it's still a true fear. I have family in California who's literally scared that ICE is just going to take them, even though they are U.S. citizens. And you would think that wouldn't be a thing, but then they arrested a guy who showed his military ID. And, you know, it's kind of like, no, these are real fears that we actually need to have.
Yeah.
And trying to explain that to people who don't see it that way. You know, they're like, there was a comment made that was like, oh, they're only taking the bad ones.
And that's one thing though, that people will say, oh, well, they're only going after criminals.
Yeah.
Some people label a criminal different than others. There's people that label a criminal someone that came undocumented to this country.
Yeah.
So it's like, how far is the label going? But going back to the whole fear thing, you know, there was this one person that reached out to us yesterday who is a U.S. citizen, and he does, I forgot if he has a driver's license or if he didn't have a driver's license, but he had a sick daughter who needed to go to the Arkansas Children's Hospital. But even then, being a U.S. citizen, he was scared to drive because he was afraid of racial profiling, because he's been seeing on the news how there's been some racial profiling happening by ICE, getting individuals that are not undocumented. And he was really concerned about that. And I actually drove the entire distance from his house to the Children's Hospital to make sure there was no ICE activity. And once I told him and I called him, he was crying. He was like, "I'm so happy that you did this for me. I'm sorry. I'm just so scared. And you know, I'm a U.S. citizen." And I think he said he had a driver's license, but he was so worried. And it's something like, with me being a U.S. citizen, I am not worried about being stopped because I know my rights, and I know, like, if something happens to me, I can make this a case and escalate it because I know what I know and the connections that I have, right? But people are scared. Yeah. Like, people, if you, for example, I spoke to some business owners in Rogers. They were telling me that some of their employees didn't come in to work on Thursday and Friday because they were scared.
Oh my gosh.
And even little things like, for example, I went to go get a haircut this morning. The lady that cuts my hair, she was like, there was a guy that comes in here all the time, and he goes to the casino all the time. And he told me that the majority of Latinos that he normally sees at the casino were not there as well.
Damn.
And and people are just not wanting to go out, you know. And yes, a lot of it has to do with, like, what they're seeing on social media. But, I mean, there's validity to, you know, what the Trump administration has said, that they want to, like, vamp up these deportation numbers and get, I think 1,500 is their goal every day. Yeah. And I think in their first week, they didn't hit that goal. I think based on this report from Axios, it says 3,500 on their first week was the number that they got.
And, like, you know, sometimes people, especially in my line of work.
What was it compared to, like, the week before that? Yeah.
I'll have to check. Is there, like, do y'all know of a website? Like, I mean, it has to be higher than that, but I'll check.
I think ICE puts out releases on how much they, like, captured, because I know Bogart told me.
I'll have to look into that.
But, like, in like our line of work, we have to be, like, non-political, and but I don't see Trump. I'm not saying Republicans at all. I think there's a difference there. I think Trump is completely different. If you read 1984, if you know history, if you read Project 2025, what he's saying is dangerous, and I feel like that has to be exposed. And, like, you know, same could be said about some of the things that Joe Biden did, but we're not seeing the same type of fear and changes that are happening right now in the first week of his administration that we did ever in Biden's term, or Obama or anyone else.
Oh, man. I think the danger comes in when you just generalize, because I'm the son of two immigrants. My entire, I'm the first generation here in this country legally, because everyone else came here, kind of illegally, or they found some avenues. And so I've grown up with both perspectives, and I've grown up privileged, and I know that. And I think the fear happens when you generalize things. For immigrants, I understand, and I've seen plenty of stories of the criminals, and obviously there's a big drug problem in the U.S., and that's why the cartels are so big. This stuff makes sense, but it's whenever you generalize every immigrant that. And there are families here, like you were saying, that guy that was crying, going to the children's hospital, like, that guy is probably just trying to take care of his kid. And you know what I mean? Like, like, any parent would do that. Any parent would take their kid to the hospital. And even just because they're an immigrant, they're fearful. For me, like, my parents were immigrants. I barely ever went to the county the county health department to get my shots. That's it. I never went to see a doctor, because there is such a deep fear for immigrants, because we are generalized so often that, like, they're going to group us in, and they're going to detain us, and they're going to try us, because at the same time, it's so complicated on both ends of the spectrum. It's people over here fear the danger of real criminals, of real immigrants that come here, don't care about the laws. On the other side of that, we're fearful of just the absolute law and people trying to hunt immigrants down. So it's
Yeah.
I don't know. We're in a democracy, so I'm supportive of what the U.S. stands for, but it's just the way that politics has become now so divided.
Yeah.
So people
that's
are
what I try to tell people
speak
the
out to
most
them,
is
right.
like, we are still in a democracy. You still have the right to record an ICE agent.
Mhm.
You still have the right to say, whatever you want to say about Trump. In other countries like Russia and China, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that as long as we still have those things, like, I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to live in the United States. I'm proud for the laws that we do have. But seeing things like birthright citizenship get taken away, that hurts our Marshallese community. That hurts Native Americans. That hurts me as a pregnant woman. What does that mean? Even though I was like, do I need to go through a process for my own child to make sure that they get naturalized?
Yeah.
Like, these are true things that are hurting the U.S. Constitution and what it stands for.
Then they also ended the thing that affected Canopy, NWA, the
Yeah.
stopping of refugee
Refugees programs,
services.
yeah.
That's
And people were like saying that those were people coming from the southern border. If you look at the top 3 countries for refugees, it's like
Yeah.
Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Ukraine, like these places that are war torn, and there's a process. And the plane that was stopped had like people who've been waiting for like 30 years
Decades.
to be with their families here,
yeah.
and it's just like that's what America's always been, right? The Statue of Liberty, right? Bring me your weak, bring me, yeah.
And to follow up, I'm on the ICE website, which I hate it here, by the way. But the first week was 3,500, right? That's what's been reported. It doesn't have numbers on here that shows like every week, but it says like in 2024 the total numbers were 33,000. So if they're getting 3,000 in a week out of 33,000 that were the whole year, that shows you that the numbers are going up, because that's per week. There's 4 weeks in a month.
In my conversations with Bogart, he had told me that, so the issue with just going after everyone and not just prioritizing on like the criminals and the people that are obviously felons that have already committed, is that Trump is clogging up the judicial system, the immigration court system. And so Bogart literally said, he was like, Obama and Biden each in just 4 years deported more immigrants than Trump ever did. And it's the same thing here. He told me where it's really going to change, where it's really going to like, where we should be concerned is if he gets more funding for ICE, because then that's always been the issue. It's those courts don't have enough resources to, churn out, whatever processes they need to do for felons.
Education and Medicaid out, then you can support all the ICE you want, right?
Well, all these different departments that what's that committee called? Is it Dodge? What is it?
Oh, Doge.
Doge, where they're like
The Department of Government Efficiency.
Yeah, which they're like trying to eliminate a lot of these different departments. And I know several people that are concerned about that work in those fields that are at risk with that department. But yeah, I think one of the things I wanted to talk about is like people's fear is valid. People are scared because you just never really know if ICE is really going to go after specific individuals that are very, very violent, which is what the administration has been saying. And there's been people that have been stopped that are not undocumented. Even here in Springdale, there was a person over there on Huntsville Road in Springdale who was questioned by ICE, and I forgot if they detained him or not. But his picture went viral locally because it was like video and pictures taken. The man was let go because he was not the person that ICE was looking for. But they still stopped him and they still were questioning him, and they were being very rude to him. Like if you see the video, you see that ICE, for some reason, they always have someone that speaks Spanish, right? I guess because they're trying to get, for the most part, the Latino community here. And the person from ICE was like super rude in the way that he was talking to this individual that had no fault. He's a U.S. citizen. And so I think people are scared about that, and rightfully so. I think one of the things that I try to tell people is that, hey, this is what I said, this is what police officer said, but I also understand that it's difficult to put trust in what a law official says that are carrying on these actions already. It's like, how much can you trust? You know, there's going to be a lot of situations where people are going to be reporting what they see if they think they see ICE. There's even groups called like ICE Watch on Facebook. I'm not sure if y'all have seen that group.
ICE Watch NWA.
That's reporting everything that they see. Some of it is probably factual. Some of it's probably not. And I think there's more good in that than there is bad. I do worry just about people being
Trolls.
Trolls too, because people post anonymously. But I've also connected with several people in that group that mean well, and they're trying to look out for people and stuff. But it's just, how do you disperse information like in the most effective way that's very responsible? Like, how do you do that? That's something that we're learning as community organizers, is like, how do I tell someone to avoid an area because ICE might be there, and not scare them at the same time? Because I'd rather them be a little bit scared and maybe avoid that area than them get detained. And then it's worse. And then they get sent to Louisiana, and then they have to worry about a lawyer, and then sometimes deportation happens. And so that's something that we've been, as organizers, been struggling with. And I'm not sure if you'll have any feedback to that as news people.
Yeah. I think immigrants are already scared. Like I said, you know, both my parents were immigrants, and I grew up knowing what that fear was. You're always going to be afraid, no matter what source tells you you're going to be okay, until you can get, you know, it's the stereotype, you know, the green card, until you can get a green card, or really that's it. And then, or once you become a citizen, like, that's when you really start to feel safe, because I feel like immigrants know the system. They know how to, you know, how long it's going to take. I've talked to multiple people who are like, you know, because my dad's on TPS, my mom's a resident, and they've talked to me like, well, why don't you help your dad? Now, you're a citizen. And so everyone knows the process. Everyone knows what it takes to legalize here in the U.S. And that's why there is that fear. We know that at any moment, if you're here, whether it's TPS, even now they're going for residents, and like you mentioned, citizens, at any moment that can change. They can try to take that away.
And TPS is never safe.
No.
They're always constantly doing stuff with TPS.
I think Trump did something one time.
Like,
well, thankfully they extended it. My dad, he's got, you know, a work permit, and he's been out of work for a little bit just because he was helping take care of my daughter. But he was like, oh, I want to go back to work, and he was looking forward to this year. Once Trump got elected, he was like, oh, well, they haven't started the extension, and that takes a month, and that doesn't look like it's going to happen. Eventually, for some reason, I think it was like January 10th, they extended it. I was surprised. I was like, oh, they extended it? That's amazing. And I immediately got him, you know, to go and get all that figured out. But yeah, it's immigrants have that fear. That's why they don't go to the doctors. They don't go to anything. And I literally saw it yesterday. And I was telling you before, you know, we started the podcast, that I went to go buy a used car, and we had the guy follow me, and he was obstructing traffic because he was driving so slow, because they didn't want to chance it at all, at all. And he was undocumented. He told me straight up, he's like, I've got nothing. I've already got an order.
I almost feel like over there in Oklahoma, like things are a little bit more intense when it comes to immigration, and just it's bad in Arkansas. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's politicians that are doing stuff that are very against immigrants and everything, but I feel like Oklahoma just kind of takes it to another level, and faster too. I did want to mention something that the Washington Post says, talking about like those numbers. The Washington Post made an article that said the administration wants to increase the number of arrests from a few hundred per day to at least 1,200 to 1,500. So that's direct from the administration. So it's not if we start feeling like there is an increase in ICE activity here in Northwest Arkansas, like that's not out of the blue.
Well,
Like it's
the other thing that you had said was like if you're Hispanic, you grow up in the neighborhood, you know whenever there's something going on.
yeah.
And so if ICE had been there before, like everybody would be like, oh no, it's Thursday at 2 p.m. We know ICE is here. But that's not what's, this is like, oh shit, ICE is here knocking door to door right now. Like that is a difference,
Yeah.
Like-
And even like I said, there are other older organizers that are saying like, oh, it's routine. And even when someone says routine, like that shit kind of affects me too, because it's like just because it's routine doesn't mean it's okay.
Yeah.
And just because it's routine doesn't mean that they're just getting like the worst of the worst people.
Pero la otra cosa es that whenever it comes to what Trump is saying about all these people who've been at the border, right? They're not rounding up these new people who just crossed over, who, are from here from recent years. These are people who have families, who have had jobs here, who, have their life already here, right? Whether or not they're criminals is something different, right? But these aren't the people that you're seeing Trump talk about. These are people that ICE knows, oh, we can go to this neighborhood and round up people because we know who lives there already.
Yeah, which is what they did when they went to that area in Springdale yesterday. Yeah, they knew that it's an immigrant populated area.
They know where the supermercado, right? Like that freaked everyone out.
It almost feels like it's kind of like I kind of made a parallel to when I canvass, when I go register people to vote, and I get like a document that says, okay, these are the people that you need to go knock their doors in this area, and it'll usually be like Adrian, Oriole, Casey, all those different areas. I think like ICE is doing the same thing. They're like, okay, well, let's go to this one area. We know where some of these immigrants or undocumented immigrants are. Like, let's hit these houses that are close by, kind of like the same way that we do canvassing, just regularly, right? And I feel like that's what they were doing, And it's scary because it's just kind of like, man, what about the people that need to go home after they're at work and they're like, damn, should I even drive home right now? Like, like what should I do? You want to say something, Max?
No. I was just thinking about myself again.
What were you thinking about, Max?
No, I mean, I just never open my door. I don't care who it is. If you didn't call, I'm not getting up to go check who it is.
Well, there's this one girl that reached out to me yesterday, and she was like, "Hey, if ICE comes to my house, like, can I just ignore them?" And I was like, probably not. That's probably not the best thing to do. Like, you should ask for a signed warrant and make sure it's signed by a judge. They can show it to you through the window. They can put it through the door, underneath the door. If you have like space underneath the door, don't open the door unless they have that. If someone is guilty of doing something horrendous, they're gonna have a signed warrant. ICE should have a signed warrant. And if ICE doesn't have that, why would you open the door? Don't do that. That's the first part, and I know people don't know these rights, so I'm just saying it again to remind them. That's like immigration, know your rights 101. First step, don't open the door unless they have a signed warrant. So I hope people listen to this. And look, yesterday there was one of the houses where I showed up in Springdale was the house of a Marshallese man. And there's video on Facebook, which I'm guessing they filmed it from inside of their apartment, where the mistake that they did was that they did open the door, but ICE did not go inside. They were outside of the door still. And in the video, you see that the Marshallese man goes up to the ICE officer and says, "Where's your warrant?" And like, where's your warrant? And the ICE agent pulls up like a piece of paper and just a piece of paper and shows it to him. And the guy's like, "That's not a warrant. It's not signed by a judge." And the person didn't go out. ICE didn't come in. The person wasn't arrested. ICE left. So that was a good example of what you're supposed to do. Just don't open the door. Like, that was a mistake. And that has to do with, like, lack of education when it comes to know your rights information, right? Like, not everybody, the majority of the people do not know what their rights are. And that's okay. That's kind of why organizations like AIRE are here to educate people on their rights. But he did what he was advised to do, to make sure that because normally someone would just be like, if ICE comes to your house and they say, "Step out of the house, we need to talk to you," you're going to do that because you're scared, And if you, like Mig said, I'm just not going to open the door if they don't call. if they have a warrant, they can blast through your door and come and get you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so even if you're just not opening, if there's a warrant out for your arrest, they're gonna get you. They're gonna open the door. They're gonna knock it out, whatever. So that's also a reality.
Take this last hit before they.
Yeah.
Bad trip, bro.
that really is, man. That's
Hold
a bad
on,
trip.
I got one more Corona. Let me just finish it.
That'd be a bad trip. But, you know, it's good to add some humor to really difficult situations because, man, just these past few weeks have been, I know for immigrant rights organizers, it's been really devastating and exhausting. You know, we're constantly receiving messages from people concerned and asking different questions about their specific situation. And there's also a lot of good people in the community. So one thing that we've been seeing is a lot of people that have been wanting to support this work. And I put a Facebook status the other day asking people if they would sponsor like Know Your Rights material. So for us to be able to buy like
pass them out basically.
Yeah, like because it's expensive, man. Usually, you know, Myra and I will print out our house, and we just ran out of ink because we printed out so many documents and stuff. So I'm like, yeah, we need help. So we put it out there, and like in a few hours, we raised like $2,005, and that's a good amount of money to be able to buy, you know, not only paper, maybe a printer too, all these different things. So there's good people out there. That's one of the things that makes me feel better is in these kind of situations. Is I feel like right now with this work that we're doing with immigrant rights, we're not alone, you know, and it takes a big relief. It gives us a big relief because, man, when we were organizing and when I was like 19 or 18, a lot of people didn't really get it. Like they were very dismissive of us because we were young and both parties, Republican and Democrats, they didn't really want to work with us. They didn't really see us as they saw us like radicals, like we were gonna do something that was like totally against their morals. And now people have been a little bit more receptive, you know, in the Democratic Party for sure. In the Republican Party, it's still difficult. I haven't personally. No one's ever reached out to me from the Republican Party and said, hey, we'd like to support your efforts or the efforts that your group is doing. And look, myself, I don't identify as a full-on Democrat. I identify as like what's best for the oppressed people in my community, what would benefit people to create an equal playing field for everyone to have access to resources. But it seems to be the progressive people that want to help out the most, you know, and I don't know. I'm guessing it's their values, you know, and I'm grateful for those people, but I just wish people had a little bit more empathy.
It plays a lot into like just studying in politics. It plays into just the way that politics has changed over time, because it used to be the other way around. It used to be, you know, I've heard that like Republicans used to be the other way around. It used to be
in the 50s.
Yeah, where the Republicans were more progressive. And if you look at the history of the U.S., like George Washington was not Democratic or Republican. He was, I think he was Federalist. And so the party system, it's just, it's where it is now because, you know, we've created a two-party system with the influence but yeah, it's politics. It's working with influence. It's working with controlling such a big population in order to get the vote. And then once you've got the vote, then it's controlling the population to get your laws passed. Yeah, the parties are crazy.
I think it's crazy that we're supposed to, you know, government's kind of here to protect us from like big corporations and stuff like that. And now we're just like, well, fuck it, let's just let them have the keys. Like, yeah.
That's true.
I mean, and I think we all kind of knew that was going to happen. That, you know, now Facebook, Amazon, Tesla, they get front row seats to the inauguration, and they're.
I think you have to pay for those tickets, but
I don't know.
You saw them on TV.
I don't even know that. But for the folks that are listening that are just concerned about just locally, like ICE and just the entire situation right now with immigration, I recommend to follow, you know, people in the community that are doing good work. I'm going to cheap plug AIRE, which is a immigrant rights organization in Arkansas that is advocating for resources, for equal resources for all immigrants and protection for immigrants, for advocacy, for language justice, and education. So follow Aire Arkansas on Instagram, on Facebook, and today we opened to Twitter too, so you can follow them there. They'll have the most recent updates on things that are happening in the community and just keeping people educated on their rights. But for social media, where can people follow all of you? We'll start with you, Jose. You want to tell your socials?
So yeah, my socials are
Not
Jose,
social security number, but your
Jose A. Carranza, and there's periods separating, and my last name is spelled Carranza. Instagram's probably the best. I grew up on Instagram. Now, if you want to look me up on Facebook, I think they're connected, like, because it's that metasphere.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm there too, Jose Carranza.
But before we end this episode, Jose, can you tell us what you do to take care of your mental health?
Oh, man, I've got a family. I've got, I hate to call her my girlfriend because we're like almost towards that step. But, I hang out with my family. I just spend time with my family. I am blessed to have a work cell phone. And so it's so easy for me to just disconnect because, the cell phone is kind of that's our biggest weight in life now. You know what I mean? And so it's just being mindful, spending time with my family. And if I need to spend, kind of my me time, it's I love anime. And so I watch a lot of anime when I can. But yeah, it's just disconnecting and saying everything's going to be okay.
Thank you for sharing that. Mental health is important, specifically right now, more than ever. I know I need to take care better of my mental health. One thing I have been doing, though, is for the past month, first thing I do when I wake up, besides give my wife a kiss and give a kiss to my doggy and brush my teeth, I go to the gym and I do an hour in the gym. And there's times specifically right now with all this immigration activity where people will call me and they'll be like, hey, call me back right now, or I need you to call me back right now. And I'm taking care of myself now where I'm like, I got to finish this gym session. Give me 13 more minutes. And then once I'm out of the gym, I'll call whatever. But that gym time at the beginning, that's my time. And I'm not going to change that because I need to take care of myself. I got to put me first. Remember that? If you remember that TikTok thing, I got to put me first. But for everybody listening, that was the end of episode this week. Thank you, 5 News reporter Jose Carranza, for joining us today. And this is Irvin.
This is Elena.
And Migs.
And we're signing off.